let's go. Let's do this thing.
Okay, okay.
I was forced as a child to make friends, which just didn't like
I
it.
thought we were talking about dating.
Oh, are we? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. So we'll fast forward to my dating years when I was a young, very young, tender age of what, 24?
You went on when you were 25?
I think so. Met up with her and went to this pub, and we had nothing to say to each other. It was absolutely god awful. It was like 40 minutes of silence. Oh my god. I don't know how to explain the awkwardness that you have with a stranger. And that was my first day I ever went on. It kind of worked out in a way. I followed what mother told me, school first, girls later.
I see.
Yes, yes. What questions do you have for me? I mean,
That
what
was your
would you like to
first
know?
one. I know that you've been on a lot of other dates, so tell me about your second if you remember it, or
Um,
any other next one that was interesting.
next one. Oh, let's see. Well, should I tell people this? Okay. Well, I went to this meetup and I don't know, I saw this woman there and I thought, oh, she looks rather pretty. So I decided to go up to her and say hi.
Very ballsy.
I know, it's not like me at all. Usually I'm just cowering in the corner with, looking at the wall or something. So I asked her, and that was interesting. We did get on quite well, but she was no interested in me.
Did you go on a date?
I don't think we did. I don't know. Right after the event, we just went and had food straight away. It was very efficient. It was the most efficient experience I've ever had. Usually it takes me 7 years to ask someone.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. That's because I don't pick up on flirting. I know some of my friends have said that people have tried to get my attention, but I have never ever noticed because I just don't understand flirting. It's a complete mystery to me.
But you must have a
Yeah.
lot of friends who have tried to explain it to you before.
Oh, yes, definitely. But I prefer to see it in action. I'm a visual learner. I never quite understood it. I mean, there's so much nuance and little tiny details you can't pick up on, and I just can't get it. If someone's nice to me, I always think they just want to be friends rather than have anything more. And this was kind of like the case really. I decided to take the opposite approach, and I thought, oh, she's being nice. Maybe she is flirting with me. It turns out she wasn't. So she wasn't interested in me at all. But yeah, no, we're still friends though.
Okay, that's good.
It
You've had
is.
other pursuits since then, though, right?
Let's see. I haven't really dated that many people. I do have my own little hobbies now and again, so dating's on the priority list. But
I
I
see.
was set up with a blind date, and we hit it off quite well. But in the end, she decided that she didn't want anything exclusive, so that kind of ended as well.
Would you say there
Uh,
was any flirting?
well, that's the thing. If I don't know what flirting is, maybe there was.
Yeah, I'm just checking you're consistent with what you're saying.
Oh, I see. Well, don't know really. With flirting, I mean, what do you do exactly? Do you like point your knee at someone and say, "Oh, look at the
What
knee"?
do you
So,
do exactly?
I show them my knee and say, "Well, think about that," and then they go, "Oh, hello."
Well, I mean, if that works for you, because flirting can be very different for different people.
Does it? I've been told that light bullying works quite well, and so far, maybe it's the way I deliver the bullying. People have said that when I do bully people, it sounds like I'm actually bullying people.
Yeah, and I think if you
But
use the word bullying, you're probably set up on the wrong foot.
well, it's not like I'm making fun of it, like, your face is not as aesthetic
Oh,
or
what do you mean by
abstract.
bullying
I
then?
guess you call it banter, some people. I guess some people call it banter. So, like, you can call someone stupid.
What, that's
Apparently,
so making fun of someone.
yeah, but apparently it works. Some people are like, oh, you're so silly or you're so stupid. And
No,
then,
what I mean is
oh,
that you said that bullying is not making fun of people.
isn't it? Or is that? Oh, I see. Right. No, not. It is making fun of them. Basically, when I say it, it sounds serious. Or at least what people say that. It sounds like I'm really actually being critical of them, but not being playful. So, like, playful bullying. Like, you both know you're not being serious, but you're giving them a bit of a poke, I guess.
So you're saying you don't know how to be playful?
No, in my mind, I am. But when it comes out, it feels like I'm giving them an interview review.
You'll just get to download that version of yourself.
Oh God, I'm 34 already. There's not much time left. I think they stopped the updates years ago.
Well, it's all up to you, right? This is your body, your vessel, your brain.
I don't know. The updates have failed so far.
Have Have you
I
tried?
suppose I have. It just doesn't work for me.
Do you feel those lines? Do you feel like you're still being you by saying them?
Suppose not really. Can't
Yeah,
remember.
that's probably what the difference is between you and someone else saying it, right? It's coming
Yeah,
from them
so
and not from you.
yes. But people say I'm so old-fashioned. I don't know, the old-fashioned way of doing things is so much more easy. There's steps, you know. You go up to someone and say, hello,
It
would you
sounds like
care for
you
some
do want
tea?
to be old-fashioned.
It's just so much easier, you know, going up to someone, asking them for a dance, and they fill in the form. And I don't think they have events like that in New Zealand. Maybe in Europe, yes. Maybe I'm born like 50 years too late or something.
Maybe. Maybe someone needs to host one of those.
But is there a demand? I mean, who wants to live out a Downton Abbey sort of fantasy?
True. Most of the people who are living in what you're mentally living in's era is
They're
already,
dead.
well, they're either dead or they're married.
Or the 80s. So what you're saying is I'm limited to the single widows out there.
You never know.
If,
There could be another old souled person who's our age living somewhere that is
oh
ready
yeah.
to go on a date with you.
Oh my God. Yes, maybe. Hard to say, really. There's not a lot of people who like old stuff. Yeah, dating is tricky. Don't recommend it.
Well, you're not going to
Um,
completely abandon it, are you?
34, you know, it's getting to that point of no return, really. Once you hit 35, it's kind of game over, I think, you
Some
know.
people say age is just a number.
Yes, but usually I don't associate with those people. If you hit 35, most of your friends are in relationships or married or with kids. And
Yeah.
those who are not are either divorced or widowed. And that's about it, really. And they're pretty hard to find. So you're left with basically everyone in their 20s, which isn't great because you're now in two different points in life. You know, when you're 20, you're kind of more about exploring. When you're in your 30s, you're kind of getting ready to settle down. So
Yeah.
either you're in the same mental state or it just won't work. While with those people who are, what, 35, single, and meet all the criteria, I don't know, like smart, funny, good looking, and all that, they're probably for someone who they can learn from. So, probably the top 1% of the population who have gone their lives together and can keep up with their lifestyle. So, it's a very tricky position to be in because when you're, say, dating in your 20s, you're still in university, and most of those people will not have a job. They don't have any expectations that you have your life together. So in a way, you're on the same footing. But once you hit 35, you start working, your career is established. So once you hit that age, it becomes far more difficult because the people who the dating pool that you're in, they have certain expectations of what their partner will be like. So it just makes it very tricky to meet those expectations.
So you preferred when they didn't have any expectations in the 20s.
I think it's probably the best time to date because you're not restricted to your workplace. You have basically everyone in one place at university. Once you hit 30, once you graduate, you only ever see your colleagues, and that's what, you know, maybe 10, 20 people in your team. And usually you don't date within your work community.
What's
Yes, once
stopping
you
you?
professionalism, I would say. If, say, I suppose it's the general sort of consensus that if something goes wrong, then you're just seeing them every day, having to work with them. It could be rather tricky. But no, yes, once you hit 30, you become a little bit more pickier because you don't want to date an idiot. And you don't want to date someone that doesn't earn as much as you because then it becomes a burden. A lot of people don't like talking about money, but it does matter because if you are constantly having to pay for your partner's stuff or trips and whatnot, it just becomes a bit too one-sided. I mean, maybe some people don't mind, that's okay as well. But in general, it's difficult because you want someone who is smarter, or at least as smart as you, as much or as maybe a little bit more than you, have the same things that you can relate to. No,
But what's the pool like in the online dating apps? Surely
terrible.
there's people our age as well.
Oh, yes, definitely. There are people our age, but it's so very difficult to get a conversation going with anyone online, mainly because it's extremely difficult for a guy to get a match on any dating platform, really. Unless you're super good looking, then that's different. But for the average fella, it's rather tricky because you have all these women who would have hundreds and hundreds of matches, or at least likes, works, and 9 times out of 10, if you're a girl, you swipe right on someone, you will probably match with them. And the problem is, they're probably going to ask you all the same questions, what's your favorite food, what's your favorite thing to do, and all that. It becomes rather monotonous. So by the time they reach you, they've already answered these questions maybe 10, 13, 14, 15 times. So the
Well,
conversation doesn't flow. And if you're not interesting enough, they'll go, oh, this guy's kind of boring. So they're not quite interested in talking to you.
so it sounds like your other option is to try dating outside of online apps.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is very much a better perspective is to date outside of internet dating, because I feel that most of the emotion that you have, say, online dating is lost. If you're just typing things into a chat box, into Messenger or something, a lot of the emotion is gone. So you're losing half that context. So if you say something weird, they might think, oh my God, is this guy being serious? Instead of being playful. So yeah, I think it's very important to date in real life. But the chances of dating in real life is kind of slim in New Zealand, especially. There's so many people here so reserved. I hear stories of people overseas, they're not as standoffish compared to the average Kiwi. So here, if you go up to someone, ask them out, it's not frowned upon, but it might be taken as being a bit too forward.
It shouldn't stop you, right? If you're already that old, as you say, you're already on the way out. The risk is low.
I'm getting too old for this.
No, that's what
Unbelievable.
you've been saying this whole time.
Suppose. No, you're right. But is that fair rejection once again? But at least what I've heard, I don't know if you go to Europe or something, it's people are far more willing to go, it's a date, it's just a date, rather than this is the beginning of a whole new relationship. And I think it's mentality in New Zealand is when you ask someone out on a date, they think, oh my God, it's almost like a marriage proposal. So they take it far too seriously rather than just get to know someone.
Have you tried dating outside of New Zealand?
Oh, no, no, no. I don't do long distance. Too tricky.
Oh, well, you don't have to think about it as a marriage proposal. You could just date them and try it out.
Oh, no, it's expense. I mean, fly there, fly back, fly there again, then fly back again. I haven't lived overseas, so it's kind of tricky. I'd rather not go through the whole just talking online because it just seems like a pen pal situation. There's no dating really involved. You're not doing things together. You're kind of just writing letters essentially about your day-to-day life. It's almost like diary keeping.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're limited to the people in front of you. And I know you have been on dates before.
I have been on dates.
How did those go?
Oh, well, let's see. I dated this one person. She and I think we were interested in each other. But I get the feeling that after we met, the interest kind of left. She was far more politically minded than I was. And I was politically aware, let's say, not as politically involved. And I felt that when we did talk about hobbies and that sort of thing, and I talked about my hobbies, there was too much of a political lens on the discussion. So things like, for instance, I said I enjoyed camping and that sort of stuff. And the response to that was it was a privileged activity. And she went on to say that for them, it's a way of life while you do it as a hobby. And I just thought, wow, yes, I'm quite well aware that not everyone is as lucky to do things which others might consider a way of life. And for some people, it would be just a hobby. I mean, it didn't have to go to that kind of length
I can
to
see that
criticize someone's hobbies.
that thought's pretty toxic, right? It's kind of like saying if I were to just passing comment say, I'm hungry today, or I'm hungry right now, and if their response were to be like, well, there's a lot of people starving, then okay, what can I do about that? That's not something that I can do in this immediate moment, and the situation that they're in is very different from mine. Does that mean that I can never complain of hunger?
Yeah, it's very tricky to find the right person. I know everyone's flawed and everyone's got their own issues, but it's just really tricky to find the right balance. Dating has become far more complex, mainly because of the rise of social media and everything. Everyone's got this idea of the perfect fella or woman, or anyone really, and it drives expectations so very high of what people want. It just makes dating even more harder than it was, a couple of decades ago. Before you could, wow, someone with a nice haircut or something.
Yeah, and getting them on the dance floor was so much easier.
Oh yes, definitely. Send in an application form, and then 2 or 3 days later, they might go, okay, we can fit you in.
Yeah. Or you might put a profile into the newspaper, someone sees it, they call you, go on a
Oh
date,
God.
and the rest is
Have you
history.